Welcome to episode 12 of Let's Play Eternal Daughter. As ever, I'm your host, Master Goffrin. Today, we'll be venturing to the green undercaves where the Grodol reside, and going to the sacred areas we weren't allowed to go into the last time we were there. Somewhere down there we hope to find Chalzar, god of the Grodol, and gain another presumably vital addition to our armoury. I did consider speeding up some of these sections in the mines, but with the spin attack that the charge helm grants us, not only are things, by which I mean bats, generally less scary, but I'm also a lot jumpier. High speed jumping up and down doesn't really look so great, and I'm moving pretty fast anyway, so I'm not sure it will make much of a difference. At this point of the game we're close to running out of places to explore. One place we haven't been back to in a while is Mr. Epic Beard number 1, Effendu, who's in these mines somewhere. If we weren't back there now, he'd say almost exactly what he said before, with the exception that his last line would now read, "Both you and your pet must grow stronger." As a result, you can probably infer that the trial that he stands guard to is in some way linked to our little familiar. Speaking of our familiar who, well, isn't really that little anymore, I scurrilously off-screened a little bit of fruit farming between this episode and the last one, in the vain hope that at some point in this video, he'll mature into his third form. These deep dark undercaves still pose quite a lot of threat to us, mainly because mandibulas will catch you off guard, or bats will come in from nowhere, and there's always something horrible to fall on top of. The head charge certainly does help, but it's no guarantee of safety, and everything here still packs a decent punch. Well, it seems the Shulan Elder apparently has some decent sway with the Grodol, and has obtained permission for us to enter the sacred caves. While similar to the caves before it, there is literally stuff everywhere here trying to kill you. It's really kind of hectic. One thing you'll probably miss, which ultimately really only makes your life harder, is this ledge to the right. Not only does it have a red fox on, which you should kill, but there is also a passageway in the wall above it. A light application of Mojax quickly gets you up here. However, this is the easy way to get to somewhere we have to go, so I'm going to go the medium difficulty way instead. As usual, falling down around here is almost terminally dangerous. However, I remembered that there was a bug associated with the skeleton I just fell past, and if I can manage to stay on this platform without falling off, I'll show you it. And there you are, the amazing flying skeleton. I can only assume that there are supposed to be invisible markers which block enemy movement, and that they were accidentally omitted here. This large room to the left helpfully houses a save point. It's the only one nearby, so I'm certainly very grateful to it. Back out and up to the right, there's another Grodol on guard duty. Since we're all friends, maybe he'll let us through. He's guarding some kind of portal that even we're still not allowed to go to. However, this reads more like a warning than a denial. Past disguise some fairly heavy stuff. However, you can do some big time sequence breaking here with the Mojang. There's a gap you can just go through above him, since I think he's kind of copy pasted from the other guard Grodol, who's in a much shorter corridor. You do have to use the Mojang to accomplish this, you can't just jump in, and it is kind of rude to throw Mojags into people's faces, so I can understand why this didn't get caught. Otherwise, this lower area only has a few enemies left, though it does try to bait you into falling into horrible places to get hurt. This pit on the left leads nowhere at all, and you have a good chance to get stuck between a slime and some bats. The only exit out of here is to the bottom right. This horizontal area is a nightmare, plain and simple. These statues breathe pulses of fire, which swing and at 6 damage if they hit you. Then there's mandibulas hiding just off screen to catch you when you think you've got the timing for the fire just right. You can try and head charge through the flames, but if it goes wrong you're pretty stuffed. The strategy I've always used is to balance over the corner and then try to run across between bursts, and it's fairly effective, though it can be a little tight on 1 or 2 of the platforms, as the statues are not all the same distance away. If you do get hit by the fire, you're honestly better off reloading and trying again, since it's unlikely you'll manage to recoup that health. With that area navigated, we find ourselves in another mostly vertical area. However, there's an exit straight opposite where we came in, past this raised platform with the skeleton. I was wondering if maybe I should try and kill mobs to get a heart, but I've died 3 times trying to do just that already, and it's just not worth the risk. Also, going up this shaft at this point is the hard way. I don't recommend it, though to be fair I don't recommend the medium way either. Also, it's boss fight time, this time with unique music. These spore pods falling down are the main obstacle here. They hit for 3 damage and will be falling throughout. This green vine barrier blocks our way out to the right here, so you can't run off. You also can't just run out the same way you came in, because the game stops you from leaving any boss fight area, so technically this barrier is pointless. Otherwise, this arena is just a series of rectangular platforms which lead up to the boss above. Obviously the pods can knock you down a good ways, but it's not too big a deal. Now that we are at the top, we can finally see the boss. It's a giant green one-eyed plant monster. His 2 defense vines move in and out to protect him, and he has a couple of flowers way up at the top that spew out the little spores. If you're feeling especially suicidal, you can jump onto either of the platforms to the left or right of here. However, they are placed there only for the benefit of the particularly insane. Since you need to hit his huge cyclopean plant face, your best bet to do that is to double jump from this central platform, since it's completely untouched by his defense vines. The time you don't spend attacking, you'll spend waiting for an opening or checking to see if there's spores falling down from above you. Since we have the charge helm, we can pretty much just attack absent-mindedly with that. However, if it's safe to do so, normal attacks will do more damage, and these bosses have plenty of health, so shaving 30 seconds off of the fight is a definite plus. Now, I'll acknowledge that technically, if you wanted to, you could come here and fight this boss first. I am however fairly sure that everyone watching this will already agree that doing so is probably a bad idea. Without at least a charge helm, you make this a much more difficult and long-winded fight. With no easy way to defend from the spores dropping down, you'll start hoping that there isn't one just off screen above you when you jump up to attack, and you have to whip out some hammer action to take out any problem spores before they get in your way. Since the hammers go out in an arc, if a spore is falling directly above you, you have to wait until it gets uncomfortably close before you can swat it out of the air. Thankfully though, we have the head charge, and that means that this is all there is to the fight. And that's the green plant thing vanquished. Just above we can see another vital attack upgrade. There's only space for that little number to go up to 9, and we know that there's an attack upgrade in the mines, so that means that one is the last one. In the side here, where a defense vine was, there's a cave that we could slide through. It's a way out of the caves though, so we don't really want to go this way yet. Instead, we want to head down here, past where that large vine wall was. And yeah, I was kinda surprised by this. For some reason, Chalzar has turned invisible. No idea why, never seen it before either, however, still gonna take his gift. Check out our new idle animation. Now Mia has some rad, but normally invisible golden armour. Though our attack looks the same, our fireball has a new effect, however I didn't notice at the time. Instead of just being a fireball, now it turns into a freaky dragon face. That probably means it does more damage. Before we leave though, we have that large vertical shaft to ascend. Now that we have Chalzar's gift though, every time we get hit from now on the damage will be reduced by half, or at least I think that's the mechanic. This makes getting up there a ton easier than without it, which would of course be the hardest method of ascension. I kinda got beaten up by this skeleton 3 times, and while rather embarrassing, I'm only 4 hit points down rather than about 7. Since this is a branching path before the boss, you could be trying to get up here after going through the flame statue room too, so that damage could easily have spelled curtains. Now don't get me wrong, I think it's cool that you could come up here, it's just a shame that avoiding this hell pit altogether is such a no-brainer. While it's unnecessary to clear some of these platforms, you stand a good chance of getting knocked back down onto them, so it's usually wise to clean house. This little platform up here is especially baneful. Across and to the left is a platform with another red fox on, who can totally lock you down by creating mandibulars forever. They'll just keep coming, he's too far away for hammers and you can't really see exactly what height he's at for the other secondary weapons. Speaking of which, I'm beginning to have some doubts on global values for damage and health, since these mandibulars are taking 2 hammers each now. What I would end up doing here back in the day was throwing a Mojack into that platform and jumping onto that. From there I tried to steal a few hits on him before running away. This time though I decided hurling sigils and hoping for the best was a better solution. Thankfully it seems like it worked. That's probably the single hardest part of the climb, and with that over with, we're nearly at the top. This last little section has a slime working area denial on the central platform, so I decided that instead of jumping past it, I tried to come up with a compelling method of dealing with the red fox above and to the right that wasn't just jump and head charge repeatedly. Sadly, I couldn't come up with anything, so I decided to just move on. Oh, how specifically mysterious. Well, the flame's right there, so let's take it. Ozar's Flame is a new secondary weapon. I would show it off right now, but it uses free ammo and I only have 2 left, so instead I'll do this. Just left here is the passage we mojacked into earlier, which makes that difficult climb completely pointless. Here though is a little clip from a failed attempt where I did have some ammo. When you shoot the flame, it moves across the floor, quite a long ways off screen in fact. It isn't that revolutionary, but it does do quite a lot of damage and penetrates multiple enemies. Before I left, I figured I should show off some of the foliage up here. And as a 2-for-1 deal, I managed to also show that there are, on occasion, 2 Mias at once who get their animations out of sync. I'm not sure if this is related to the new armour we've got, but it only happens occasionally and fixes itself pretty quickly. And this should look familiar. If it doesn't, this is where the giant green plant mouth that spat us into the air was. Sadly, it seems we killed it about 5 minutes ago. From an efficiency standpoint, it would be better to delay getting the gift of water breathing until now, since we're right here. But it's so easy to get, and the upgrades that you can obtain as a direct result are such a big help in the other 2 areas, it just doesn't really make any sense to do so. Either way, it's now time to heed that hint we got from the mermen. But first I'm getting that itch, like our familiar might be about to mature. And our familiar has grown up again, and now he's some kind of rabbit monster. I can't see how anyone at this point would be able to guess what his final form will be. Anyway, one of the side effects of having Chalzar's gift is that anything that hits for 1 damage now hits for 0 damage, and as such, Mia is now mushroom proof. I was going to show it off a few more times, but our familiar has decided to belch fire onto everything. Well, since we're now mushroom immune, we're perfectly well equipped for heading into Blue Mountain to find Jormund, the god of wind. Some magic power wouldn't go amiss, but mana's a little out of the way, so I'm just going to grab a little from the handy farm spots here. That'll do. A couple of episodes ago we got Vreeda's Scale. Someone asked me in the thread on Something Awful what it was for, since I neglected to explain what it was in the video. To be fair, the game doesn't really explain it either, but it's basically a key item that infers no other benefits to Mia. We'll finally see what it does though when we get up to the stone block barring our way into the other section of Blue Mountain. I'm not entirely certain that the waters are to the north, but hey, it turns out that Vreeda is okay after all. So next time on Eternal Daughter, we'll be venturing into a whole new section of Blue Mountain. See you then!